All right, Saints played the Jaguars. And we tied. Oh, I love ties. They're so fantastic. They're the worst thing in all of sports. And it's preseason, so I'm not gonna be overly mad that tie happened. But if I ever see this in the regular season, you will see the full force of me complaining about a tie because I believe it is the worst thing in all of sports. Um, anyways, the Saints played the Jaguars. Week two, um, very different from week one in terms of philosophy on the offensive side of the ball. Defensive side continues to play a lot better than I expected. So, yeah, let's dive into the first quarter. So, the first quarter, Saints opened up with all backups on defense, while the Jaguars opened up with starters outside of Travis Hunter. Of course, we open up with a third down conversion from the Jaguars because third down defense continues to be an issue. It seems like nobody wants to look at like, hey, maybe we should look at that third down defense. Yeah, maybe you should. Um, from an outside perspective on the Jaguars, Brian Thomas clearly looks like a top tier wide receiver this season. Um, he looks really good. He's doing end arounds. He's catching screens, catching medium routes. He's catching everything. I like Brian Thomas coming out of college, so this is what I expected out of him. I think he can be a really good receiver, and I think that trio of Trevor Lawrence, Brian Thomas, and Travis Hunter this season could be very good. Um, Second down on the opening drive, the defense made Tank Bigsby look like prime Barry Sanders on a screen. He took from one sideline to the other for a first down. What do you want me to say? um, especially, especially right before we traded. So we traded Kalen Saunders to the Jaguars after this game, which I'll get to that because I had an issue with that. Um, Trevor Lawrence trips over the center, his foot, and fumbles the handoff, and Saints defensive lineman Vernon Brockton recovered at the 12-yard line. Um, it's a blunder. You can't always see those. Those don't happen very often in the NFL, so that's a gimme. You got to be able to get those, but you gotta understand that those are not always going to happen. Especially they're in field goal range. That like this game could have been over based off of the opening series' possession. So Saints opened up on offense with a mix of starters and backups. We got to see Olave, Rashid Shaheed, whoever's going to be the starter at quarterback was playing in this game regardless. We didn't see Alvin Kamara, but we saw Kendrick Miller. We saw Jawan Johnson. Offensive line, everybody but Eric McCoy. Um, yeah, I mean, offensive line looks like Swiss cheese. What do you want me to say? When Eric McCoy is not out there, it looks like Swiss cheese. I will say though, shout out to Kelvin Banks, the rookie first rounder from Texas. He did a great job against Josh Allen. Josh Hines Allen. Josh Hines Allen is one of the best edge rushers in the whole league. He might be one of the most underrated edge rushers in the whole league. I give him a lot of credit because I do believe he's the best edge rusher in the AFC South. And the AFC South has some good edge rushers, especially in Houston. Um, I mean, he's one. I mean, he's definitely one of the best. If he came over to the NFC, he'd be right. He might maybe the third best edge rusher in the. He's probably the third best edge rusher in either conference if he went over. Anyways, he Banks did a great job blocking Josh Hines Allen. He and Trevon Walker. He did an excellent job blocking them both. Those two are really good edge rushers. I mean, one of those guys is an all-pro edge rusher, a defensive player of the year candidate. And he was doing a really good job blocking him. So I was impressed. That was the most impressive thing I saw the entire game out of the Saints and the last 2 weeks. Um, And then to Talisier Fuaga, he does a great job at right tackle. Both are doing really good jobs at tackle. And Eric McCoy, every time he plays center, he's always doing fantastic. So Eric McCoy at center just is great. It's just figuring out those guard spots. Cesar Ruiz just when Eric McCoy is not in the game, Cesar Ruiz looks like one of the worst guards in the whole league. But when he just Cesar Ruiz just needs to be around a great offensive line to look good. Um, which means that he's not that good of a guard. He's a mediocre guard. Um, Trevor Penning is a new guy, so I'm going to cut him some slack. But I do think the left side of the offensive line has done pretty well this preseason, especially when you are playing the starters of the Jaguars, who their defense is focused. Their defensive edge, their edge rushers are really good. Uh, uh, Defense was still getting a lot of pressure, but allowing too much over the middle of the field. Again, like last week, when Demario and Pete Warner come in, that's when I'm gonna be like, all right, we're good. Um, Trevor Lawrence threw a 7-yard touchdown pass to wide receiver Parker Washington. We are Penn State. Velus Jones Jr. is returning kicks, which is something I wanted last week. I said, Velus Jones Jr. is doing so much better than Donovan Peoples-Jones or Dante Pettis, which, by the way, we cut Donovan Peoples-Jones as a result of the trade that we made. Um, Saints made two trades this week, which we'll get to them. Velus Jones, man, he needs to make this roster. If he doesn't make this roster, it is a crime. Because he's running the ball well, he's catching the ball well, he's a weapon everywhere. He's returning kicks. He can do all of that. Like this guy can be the backup to Taysom Hill. Like if something happens to Taysom, I can trust that Velus Jones can go in there. Now, can Velus Jones pass? I don't know. Taysom Hill can block very well too. He's a very good blocker. He can also play special teams outside of returner. So it's a very huge difference between Taysom and Velus. Velus also is definitely not as strong and probably not as fast as Taysom pre-injury. I don't know how fast Taysom is going to be post-injury. So, but he looks so good. Kendra Miller, man, he looks really good. I love his potential. Um, Having him backing up Alvin Kamara, I love it. Now I hear the Saints are interested in a running back. I don't really want a running back. I love Alvin and Kendra looks really good. And out of between Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Cam Akers, I really like Cam Akers more. And Cam Akers can be the RB3. Clyde had probably a better game week 2, but overall, I'm still going Cam Akers. I don't think we need a running back. I think there are other positions we need, like a guard. If you want to trade for a big time tight end, we could do that if we package one of our 30,000 tight ends that we have. Um, so yeah, but Kendre Miller looked really good. I like his potential. I like if something were happening to Kamara, Kendre kind of fits that role a little good. It's just he obviously doesn't have the receiving ability Kamara has. Kamara is basically a wide receiver 2 on 90% of the NFL teams. Um, and he's a starting running back. It's incredible. Um, and oh, I didn't even get to Tyler Shuck. So Shuck started this game. The issue was so he was trying to go for risky passes, which stalled the drive. There was less dink and dunks by both quarterbacks in this game compared to last week. This is a complete 180 from last week. Shucks Rattler started the last game. Shuck started this game. Rattler and Shuck last week were very conservative with their passes, and the most risky that any of the quarterbacks went last week was Shuck's interception, pick six, as well as his passing touchdown. But this week, completely different. It was more risky, and that's what I want to see out of these quarterbacks. I want to see risks. I'm okay if you go 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions like Jameis Winston this year. That'll beat my expectations because I'd rather you go and do that because then there's still a chance that we can go and win and go above 500 if you do that. So yeah, less dink and dunks compared to last week. Second quarter, by the second quarter, Shuck and the offense were running smooth. Both teams have starters in, and this is the best the offensive looks. Shuck had issues organizing the offense, but this is where Kellen Moore had to call a timeout, which I think stalled the drive. This everything was going really well with this drive, and then this one play, Shuck tried manipulating, and then Kellen Moore had to call a timeout. Um, and then they followed it up with on third down. Shuck made a good ball. It was a good ball. I mean, it was. I don't know how better you could have done that. And Chris Olave dropped a wide open pass for a first down, which would have been a catch on the right sideline. Olave's got to catch that, man. I mean, sometimes you make a mistake. So it's preseason, so I'm not going to get all caught up on it, but you just got to catch that. Um, it was a great drive, stalled, led to a field goal attempt. Blake Grupe kicked a 51-yard field goal. Between these two kickers that the Saints have in this battle, I don't know how you pick one of them. I'm just going Grupe because of experience. I know what Grupe can do in the regular season. And I think Grupe had a great year last year. I don't even understand why we have two kickers right now because Grupe had a fantastic year last year. Um, I mean, towards the second half of the year, I mean, he was an MVP candidate for the team. Um, Saints got the ball back. Shuck needs to stop holding on the ball too long. He's holding on the ball way too long, way more than he should. Um, it's resulting in pressure, resulting in sacks, resulting in just drives getting stalled. Jaguars running back Bajul Tootin. I know he's a rookie. I'm probably butchering his name. I will. I'll probably end up looking his pronunciation up for fantasy purposes. He ran in a 3-yard touchdown. Jaguars kicker Cam Little, who last week kicked the 70-yard field goal, which we're going to mention that probably for the rest of his life. He kicked the 53-yard field goal to the end of the half. Shuck had an okay first half, couple good drives, but couldn't finish. Similar to Rattler last week. Only Rattler, I don't think he had any good drives. He had okay drives that he couldn't finish, and Shuck had that this week. He didn't hurt himself, but he didn't improve himself over last week either. Jaguars led 17-3 at halftime. So, yeah, Shuck didn't necessarily improve. Now, based off this assessment already, Shuck would be in the lead for the starting job, but the second half goes completely different. So, third quarter, Spencer Rattler started the second half at quarterback. First drive of the second half, Rattler made some good throws, but like Shuck, couldn't finish, and they had to go and kick a field goal on fourth and goal. Fourth and goal. And Saints kicker, Charlie Smith, the other kicker battling with Blake Grupe, kicked a 23-yard field goal. Now, I like Charlie Smith. I think on another team, I think both Grupe and Smith can be starting kickers in this league. Neither have proven that one is better than the other in this, unless they have in camp. But otherwise, based off games, they're both doing really well. Um, Jonas Sanker, going back to the defensive side, safety Jonas Sanker, man, that dude is everywhere. I'm glad to see this rookie out here. He's making plays, making tackles, doing well in coverage. I love to see it because we need someone opposite of Justin Reed, or if this guy's going to be in the slot, I would love to see him in the slot. But mainly I want to see him right next to Justin Reed. Just like I've been saying all last year and during the offseason, getting the safety next to Tyrann Mathieu. We got Justin Reed. Tyrann Mathieu retired. Now we need a safety next to Justin Reed. And Jonas Sanker's playing really well. Um, Jaguars quick quarterback Nick Mullins threw an interception to Saints linebacker Jalen Ford, who gets the ball at the New Orleans 15-yard line. It was just a good play, bad ball by Nick Mullins. Nick Mullins has NFL records to his name. from his time with the 49ers. So that's I just like bringing that up whenever Nick Mullins is mentioned. Spencer Rattler threw a 45-yard or dime to Mason Tipton. That was the best pass of any of the quarterbacks over the last 2 weeks. Some of the passes that Rattler made in this game were they were incredible. If I saw it in a regular season game, I'd be like, this dude's our franchise quarterback. But it's backups. I'm not gonna over I'm not gonna overanalyze this. They are great passes, but you are playing against backups with backups. So if I see this in a regular season game, then I will be ecstatic. But otherwise, great throws. Saints kicker Charlie Smith kicked a 40-yard field goal. Fourth quarter, this is the first time I can feel like Brandon Staley's defensive scheme was doing well against opposing offensive schemes. As the defense was forcing a punt to start the fourth quarter, it just felt like the defense finally got some rhythm going. Rattler looked like a quarterback with potential from last year. He was moving around in the pocket. He was taking risks, unlike last week. He even learned how to slide properly. That was something I was making fun of him last week about. But he finally learns to slide instead of trying to run like you're Derrick Henry. Um, Third and long, and Rattler hit Dante Pettis on an amazing throwing catch on the sideline. Just an incredible play. Uh, Rattler, this was one thing I wrote down. So Rattler says David Blaine, David Blaine, um, and he doesn't run a trick play. They ran a shotgun run. It was kind of disappointing. It's David Blaine. You run a trick play. If you say David Blaine, you should run a trick play. That just makes sense. Anyways, it was just kind of disappointing. Velus Jones, again, he looked really good. He needs to get a roster spot. He was running great, catching well, returning well. He took a few runs up the middle. Seeing a receiver do that is incredible. Um, Rattler did throw an interception to Kenny Lovely, um, who returned it 27 yards to the Jacksonville 34-yard line. Lovely made a great play. It looked like Rattler was throwing it too far in front of Mason Tipton and to the right of the defender. But Mason Tipton said after the game that he ran the route too wide. So that's on Tipton. Um, which if the quarterback battle is how it is this week, next week, or if it's a little closer to Shuck, that might be a quarterback competition deciding throw. Um, Especially on a great drive from Rattler. I mean, Rattler looked great in this game outside of that play. 2.5 minutes left, and Rattler to try and tie the game up. Rattler has already proven he can do well in a 2-minute drill. I want to see more of Shuck in a 2-minute drill. I've seen Rattler do it again. He did it against the Commanders last year. I mean, the Saints almost went to overtime with the Commanders. Um, he did the game tie, a near game tying drive against the Commanders with no time left. Um, they go score a touchdown, but they have to get the 2-point conversion against the Commanders, and they're unsuccessful with it. So the Saints ended up losing that game. But it was a lot closer than a lot of people expected. I mean, even if you say the Saints and Commanders are going to have a close game, nobody's going to think about that game. So Rattler is the most comfortable I've seen him in a long time. But this is against backups. I need to reassure myself this is against backups. Would I be saying this with Shuck? No, because Shuck is a rookie. I don't know what Shuck can do at all, even if it's against backups or starters. Rattler has played against starters, so I expect him to do stuff like this. Um, I want to see him do this against starters. Um, he's throwing the smart passes. He's running. He's stepping up into the pocket. He made a beautiful throw to Mason Tipton on the sideline. He's making great passes on the sideline. He's making the best passes I've ever seen him make. Spencer Rattler connects with wide receiver Dante Pettis for a 20-yard touchdown with 21 seconds left. It's a great play by Pettis too. I'm glad Pettis isn't being used that returner because he's not as fast as he used to be. But at receiver, I want to see more of him. And he made it a great ball on the sideline, and he tight roped the sideline to score the touchdown. Uh, they went for two to tie the game up. Rattler scrambled and went to the right side. It was a pass play. Nobody was open, so Rattler took it himself and made the smart decision and tied the game up. Um, on the final play of the game, Seth Hennigan, who at this point for the Jaguars had not seen any time up until this point in the game, threw an interception to safety Jonas Sanker. Heck yeah. Returned it 40 yards to the New Orleans 24-yard line. Um, I'm going to talk to the NFL right now. If I ever saw this in a regular season game, I would go quiet for weeks. If I ever saw this in a playoff game, you probably wouldn't hear from me for a while. But it's preseason, so I won't get too. I'm not even angry about it because it's a preseason game. This doesn't matter. But I just don't ever do this in an important game. So Sanker was running up the sideline. He got tackled out of bounds. So 40-yard return to the Saints 24-yard line. There are multiple stills from multiple angles. There's very clear and obvious evidence that Sanker was out of bounds with 1 second left on the clock. The officials said no. That's the end of the game. And that was it. Ended in a tie, 17-17 tie. Even though there's pretty clear and obvious evidence. I mean, I'm seeing pictures all online all week of. People aren't too frustrated because it's preseason. It's just kind of a no. It's an itch you can't scratch. So just don't do that again. Even the announcers were like, "Oh, well, it looks like he's out of bounds with 1 second left in field goal range," which would have been great for one of the kickers to see if they could get a competitive edge in the field goal battle. So it's not even about wins and losses. It's about people's jobs on the line now. So that's all I wanted to say about that. Jonas Sanker again he's just doing great plays here every time. I love seeing Jonas Sanker right now. Hopefully he does this next week and shows why he should be next to Justin Reed. For the quarterback battle, right now Rattler he regains the lead for me for the starting quarterback spot. After week one, Shuck was pretty obvious, mainly because Rattler didn't do anything, and Shuck was at least being risky. Now Rattler is like, all right, no, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna be risky, and I like that. I love seeing that. Now, I think the Chargers' defensive scheme is a lot better than the Jaguars' defensive scheme, which is what you have to look at in the preseason if you're going to evaluate quarterbacks and throwing. So, I don't know. Just something to look at. But yeah, Rattler, right? If you asked me, if you were forcing me to pick someone to start right now, it would be Rattler, which is why Kellen Moore is starting Rattler this week for week 3. It makes total sense. And if both quarterbacks play about as solid as they've been playing, then I give it to Rattler based off experience. Because he was the starter last year. That's kind of just what I'm doing. So I don't think either quarterback right now is showing that they can be the franchise quarterback at all. But if I'm forced to start one of these guys, yeah, Rattler's definitely the guy. Outside of that, it was interesting. Jake Hayner was practicing with a rugby ball on the sideline. Man, get off the team. He's such a supermodel dude. Like he's such a he's not a quarterback, man. He just does all these funny things, and I'm like, why are you playing football, man? You should probably be like a YouTuber or something. I don't know. Um, Nick Underhill, Saints reporter, said Mason Tipton said the interception shouldn't have happened because it was supposed to run through the route. Said it was his fault. Like I said earlier, um, I think I said he shouldn't have played it more wide. Similar concept. But yeah, that's. I don't have too much to say about this. There's a very opposite mindset of week one. Um, I think based off scheme, I think the Jaguars scheme just isn't that good, and I think the Chargers scheme is really good. I mean, you're talking about Harbaugh versus a new coach for the Jaguars, so we'll see. Defense continues to play solid, but getting pressure. I love seeing the pressure. Hopefully it rejuvenates Cameron Jordan's career. Maybe we can get a couple more years out of Cameron Jordan. But if we see what we saw the last couple years out of Cameron Jordan, this might end up being his last year. Chase Young, I want to see more of Chase Young. I just don't. I'm not a huge Chase Young fan. I didn't want to re-sign him, but I understand we needed an edge rusher. I just wish it was someone else. But hopefully he rejuvenates his career. Maybe Carl Granderson's always going to be really good. So I can't wait to see Carl Granderson in this defense. Oh, and then the trades. So so the Saints go and they trade Kalen Saunders, and we got a center from the Jaguars, who was a backup last year. He started the prior 2 years in full for the Jaguars, but we get a center who can now be the backup to Eric McCoy. See if he can do better than what the center play is right now. Um, but trading Kalen Saunders, man, I'm annoyed by that. That's annoying. Like when I was envisioning the defensive line, like we're going to be running a 3-4 with Brandon Staley. So Brian Breshee's a clear and obvious starter. We trade for Devon Godshaw. So Kalen Saunders should have been on a starter. I loved watching Kalen Saunders last year. I thought he was one of the best defensive players on the whole team. I thought he was one of the best players on the whole team. It's just that's annoying, man. Why are you trading him? He was a really good player. He was very active in the community too. But that's besides the point. I shouldn't even have mentioned that. But yeah, I mean he's really good. I mean you could have thrown Nathan Shepard into that trade. I mean Shepard hasn't really done all that much. So like, but Kalen Saunders has. So I didn't like the trade. I like trading for a center. I don't like trading someone like Kalen Saunders. I'm just not a huge fan of that. But he's doing great right now. He's on Jaguars Twitter. He's always active on Twitter. So and he's always a great follow for me. But I hope the best for Kalen Saunders with Jacksonville. I'm a bit annoyed that the Saints made this move. Um, and speaking of annoying things, the Saints made another move. Now we traded for Devon Vele. Um, I like Vele. I think he was in a crowded room with Denver. He was working with the ones, but wasn't used as a one. Um, so he's 6'5". He's older, so kind of like Shuck, how he's a rookie and he's like 25, 26. Vele's 27 and was a rookie last year. Um, but we traded a fourth and a seventh for him. Like I've seen starters in this. I've seen actual wide receiver ones get traded for about that, for less than that. I, I like Vele. I hope he proves me wrong. That's not what he was worth. Is not what he was worth. We needed a receiver, but you're making stupid decisions because those are high picks. Because it's not like the Saints are going to have a low pick. Those are high picks. I'm not going to say that was essentially a third because it's not. It's a fourth and a seventh. But I mean, a fourth and a seven is basically a third round pick that they traded, and he's not worth that. I that's he doesn't have that much experience. He's been in the league 1 year and he's 27 years old. It's annoying. I don't understand. I think at this point, like I liked Mickey Loomis in terms of his ability to push contracts and stuff. Howie Roseman's really good at that too. The difference is because of the team's unsuccessful play, it leads to Mickey Loomis doing not great things. And that's why Howie Roseman, for example, in 2021, people were clamoring for him to be fired. Mickey Loomis has basically been going through that situation for a few years now. So, um, if the Saints end up with 5 or less wins, then Mickey Loomis is gonna be out the door. Then we'll have to hire a new general manager. So, I mean, I like the idea of what we're getting in return, but I trading away made no sense at all. Trading Kalen Saunders, trading a 4 and a 7. We need draft picks right now. It's frustrating. That's frustrating. And I've been one to defend Mickey Loomis because of some of the decisions he has made, some of the players they have drafted, but it's getting to the point it's getting worse and worse. It's not getting any better. He's not learning to right his mistakes. He's going and making foolish mistakes. So, but yeah, that's really it for me. Sorry to end the video like that. That's depressing. Um, but hey, Saints Jaguars they tied 17-17. I don't know what you want from me with that. It's a cookie. You want a cookie like I don't. It's preseason, so you'll see me next week after week 3. We'll be going over at that point. The 53-man roster should be set, so we'll be seeing who the starting quarterback of the Saints is going to be. I mean, Kellen Moore might end up deciding um, when right before week 1 when game starts, maybe an hour before kickoff. So, um, and I mean, we're the right now the Saints are the only quarterback competition that doesn't have a determined starter for week 1. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see one of these quarterbacks try and get this win. And be the starter. So with that being said, I will see y'all next week, and go Saints.